So not wipe the blood off. Publicity. I take pictures. I have friends all over the world. Tomorrow, just listen to what I'm saying. Good. You take it. You got a picture?
Yes, I'm recording.
You video it?
Yep.
Very good. And you can download that. You can download what you're getting right now. Can you?
Not yet.
But you can later on. Okay, that's what I want you to do right away. Okay, you see this blood? What's wrong with your phone? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I already got this. But I'm double thing, man. This is publicity. You can't look. How do you think you got? If I did stuff like you guys did, okay, I'm talking to do it like a news thing. If I followed the process of my friends here, we would break our focus. I came to Oakland this time with stacks, paperwork, and every case we had, we legalized it and won. So now, what Mukhtar and Khadijah is trying to do is change our focus from what we're doing. You understand? Did I always tell you about focus? Never let nobody get you to fight when they want you to fight. You fight when you want to fight, right? That's what I'm doing. That means whether you busted upside the head, shot in the face, or what? A general, how do you think we got this far? Do you remember all the niggas for 40 years here have been the police, right? We survived. And we entrapped them. That's what the whole thing was about. Now, don't worry about blood.
You have to stop the bleeding or something.
I'll stop the bleeding later. I'm a grown man.
Yes, sir. But
I want you to take the picture. Take it down there. You got all that blood?
Yes.
You got the blood on me?
Yep, I got it.
Got blood going out there?
Yes.
Okay, wait just a minute. Are you still there, Brother Tufel? Oh, okay, good. So, I'm giving them they got their crew here, and they're going to try to give me game on what to do.
I'm not giving you no game. I just wanted to stop the bleeding. I ain't saying nothing about it.
I'm a grown man, 250 pounds, and I can stand to lose. It ain't nothing but a half a pint of blood. I can stand to lose a quart of blood and still be jumping up and down. Okay, so come back over here again. First, take these pictures of all the blood out there. Walk on out there. No, I'm happy y'all came. Y'all will come in handy at the right time, but this is publicity. Now, I'm going to take this off, Brother Tufel, and now, call the brothers in the morning. Call brothers out for assassination. Probably won't answer. But tell him if you don't leave it on the thing. Tell him if you don't answer the call now, he's a damn fool. I mean, say what is it? It's your homeboy and you got a paper and you're not putting it in there. You know what to tell him. Anyway.
You got plenty of time everywhere, brother. You're strong, you got plenty of time everywhere. You don't want this. He's an Imam also. Yeah. Yeah, he's an Imam also. He got plenty of time everywhere, bro, all over the world. He's been all over the world. He's still, he's not bullshit.
So this is Imam Musa, the night of November the 4th, 2018, about 10 p.m. or is it about 9 p.m.? Okay. Quarter 8.
It's about 8 o'clock, man.
It's about 8 o'clock. Okay. Now, I was brutally attacked by pro-Zionist Negroes about an hour ago. The idea was they walked in and was talking crazy, and I was sitting down right here, and they stole the brother. And the idea was to get us involved in a violent altercation. Remember how they destroyed all of our other groups before? They get niggas to fight niggas. And then the situation here is all the Negroes and all the snitches have been identified and around the world from here. Now, their goal is to silence me before, well, let me put it like this. Everybody know that these guys are snitches, and the other snitches know they're snitches, and they know all the other snitches. Therefore, if I don't kill them, the government got to kill them. I'm not killing them. I've been telling everybody this for years. I'm leaving them alone. Now the government is panicked. Here's why. All the Muslim organizations got to do is grab Mukhtar and Khadijah, right? And torture them a little bit. And they'll tell on everybody. So what they came in here tonight was to protect their own lives. That's what they came here tonight for. Okay, now, we're practicing strategic management under conditions of repression. And our goal is what it's been for years, re-Africanization of the Islamic movement in North America. So I want these videos, I want all this information put on DVDs, and I will distribute them all over the world, all over the country. Because this movement not only takes care of Oakland, but it takes over all of the United States, and it takes over parts of Iran, Lebanon, and all of those areas. Now, people out in the world will know what I'm talking about. So, I want to thank y'all for paying attention. This is the fourth attempted assassination. Now, I want to explain something. Shelby, Abdul Kareem, do you remember hearing about the assassination attempt on me and Iceman and Big Greystone in 1970? Yeah. Why? Because we was too big for niggas in Oakland. And they failed. You see what I mean? Okay. If they've been trying to get rid of me from time to time, so it was 2 assassination attempts. But what happened? I didn't even know you heard about it, but you heard about it all over the penitentiary, right? So now imagine when I combine then all the way up to now, that's almost 50 years, right, of history. That's what I do to years. That's why we never got killed like George Jackson and all the brothers. That's why we never went broke like none of the other hustlers. That's why we migrated to Islam, and we holding up the banner of Islam for everybody. Remember what I said? I'm coming back to Oakland to bring it up, just like it was. Do you remember how Oakland was when I was managing things here? Right? Everybody was rich. Everybody was happy. And in the gangster world, how many niggas got killed? None. When Phoenix and all the other brothers come, they was killing folks every other week, right? And the only people got money was people in their crew. But when I was here, everybody got money, right? Okay, now that's the way it is with Islam. Now transfer that to Islam, you will understand why I do not let a little busting upside the head. Do you know, have you ever watched Eye on the Prize, all those civil rights pictures? The people hit them upside the head, they spit on them, and they non-violent, right? Now, in those days, I wouldn't do that. Do you remember years ago when the niggas would talk crazy? I break their bones. But I'm 73 years old and I got more game than I had 30 years ago. See what I mean? So our focus is not to let them change our focus. We got them. You remember we just went out to the courthouse the other day to pick up my discovery? What did they have? 2, 3 pieces of paper. I told them keep it. When you went to court, the lawyer told you, just say this, just say that, and don't say nothing about violence, right? Didn't she say that? Didn't want me to talk about this, right? And she told you explicitly, don't mention no violence. But it's all violence all the time. All right, now, here's the thing. We got this on camera. We got all the other historical facts. In fact, let me take a few more with my own phone here. See if I got enough juice. Okay. Yes. I even got blood on my phone. When you leave, you can get an ice pack, some ice, and bring it to the house, and because I might come back up here to see. But I'm moving back in here. What was I looking for?
You can skip it to the other part.
Can you come here and take a few?
Yes. So go to the end of this video or go to the next video? The next video. All right, cool. This explained enough. Yeah. And that's only a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah, it's just relatively short. I'll just play the start of it.
The organizers of this conference really decided to test me out. They put me as the last speaker on the first day after Imam Muhammad al-Asi and Imam Abdul Ali Musa, two of the greatest exponents of the art of public speaking that I have known in my time, and I have known a few. And therefore I have a hard act to follow. I will not even try to compete with the depth of knowledge of Imam Muhammad al-Asi, his total control over the Quran, over the knowledge of the Quran and its application to modern conditions. Because this is what our Imams are lacking today. They know the Quran, they read the Quran, they recite the Quran, but they cannot apply it to the conditions today. That is where Imam Muhammad al-Asi stands head and shoulder above, and one and only person in the world today who does it with great verve, with great style, and with great commitment. Imam Abdul Ali Musa is the man who has seen life from every possible angle. He has been on the anvil of the blacksmith. He has been on the ship of the slave trader. And he has been on the jumbo jet of the modern Islamic movement activist. This man combines in him all that is good, in all that is history, and all that is Islam. He can make us see things that you and I might look at for a lifetime and never know we have looked at it and we have seen it. How he has defined racialism today is something probably none of us understood before. We have all lived through racialism of a kind that only the people in this country have endured in all history. And yet we didn't know exactly what it meant until we met Imam Abdul Ali Musa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allah.
La ilaha illallah.
La ilaha illallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Arsalahu bil huda wa din al-haq liyadhhiruhu ala ad-din kullihi walau karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent Him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd fa inna asdiqal hadith kitabullah wa awtaqa alura kalimatu taqwa wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim wa khayrul sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وأشرف الحديث ذكر الله وأحسن القصص هذا القرآن وخير الأمور أوزموها وشر الأمور محدثاتها وأحسن الهدي هدي الأنبياء وأشرف الموت قتل الشهداء وأما الأمر دلالة بعد الهدى وخير الأعمال ما نفاء وخير الهادي ما أتباع وشير الأمة أما الكلب. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah, or the Book of Allah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. The best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu attaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutuna illa wa antum muslimun. O you who believe, fear Allah as he should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal as innal insana lafi khus illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I would just like to make an announcement. If anybody is getting close to work time, they could just pop up, do their salat, and head on to work, because I might be here a little while, so we don't want to be overbearing. And we know that many of you are used to these 20-minute khutbahs and half-hour khutbahs at maximum, and we're not going to do that today. Technically, we never have. I'm not going to do it because we have a certain position here. There are certain things that we've been dealing with here. There are certain things our community have been dealing with for decades. And I just want to show you something that we're not. Conference focuses on how social invisibility of African American Muslims lead to psychological trauma and suffering. That's from, it was 150 of the so-called Imams. This is over in Baltimore. It was a few years ago, 2017. And the Imams was discussing the concept of social invisibility, that they had become invisible inside of the Muslim community, and they were becoming invisible inside of the African American community. You know what I mean? In other words, they were staying in the Masjid, they wasn't going out, pamphlets, flyers, doing dawah, inviting people to Islam. And the immigrant community, who used to push them a lot, was so happy when they came here and they found other Muslims already here. Most in those days was African American. And we had most of the Masjid and what have you. But when the immigrant community came, instead of us becoming the Ansar and helping them, they integrated into society, built big, huge masajid, and they were beginning to send sadaqah to us, right? In other words, we had given up our position as As-Sabiqun, those who go out, those who win the race, those who face the challenge, right? Those who get things done. In fact, As-Sabiqun, which is the name of our organization, that word, it means to go out in front of everybody else. So much so that you may go out and do the job that have to be done before anybody else recognizes that there's a job that needs to be done. That's As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun. Those are the first rank. Of course, the Quran and history refers to those As-Sabiqun as the people before Badr. Because after Badr, that was a battle where the Muslims showed that they might be here to stay. As-Sabiqun is the ones that accepted Islam in the days when it wasn't no guarantee. You was cut off, you was isolated, right? You were a victim of the Arab society in which you was living. So As-Sabiqun means the first rank. As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun. The Ansar, the Muhajirin, those who followed them in good works, those who emulated them in good works. And that's why we took our name. Now, the African American community have not been living up to anything like that. They became subordinate to the immigrant community. And the immigrant community is different than you and I. The immigrant community is happy to be, good God Almighty. You know everybody's happy because whatever we got here, back home, it ain't no big joke. It's pretty tough to make a human living. So people are standing in line. Well, they used to be. The line's getting smaller. Well, it's pretty big down in Latin America. They standing in line to get here to America. Right? But the police are still shooting you and I down worse than during the days of slavery. Right? Because see, during slavery, they didn't shoot you, they just whipped you. Why they whipped you? Because they didn't want to kill you because they paid thousands of dollars for the Negro, right? So they want you to get in line and do the work. Now they don't need you to work, so they blast you any time of day and night they want. I mean, just openly slaughter black people. Males and females. Down in Texas the other day, throwing the young lady down and busting all up, then say she commits suicide in the jail. This is a bunch of jive. So the conference focuses on social invisibility of African American Muslims lead to psychological trauma. We don't have no psychological trauma here. Why we don't have any psychological trauma? We don't have any psychological trauma because we're facing up to what we realized that our mission was. We're standing up to it, and it's not only us here that know it, but when you saw Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui saying, I didn't even realize he had said all that stuff. What did he said, Imam Musa is the essence of all that's good. I said, good God Almighty. Now, a lot of y'all don't know who Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui was. If you ever heard of Majlis Ashura Islamiyya fi Britannica, the Muslim Parliament of Great Britain, he's the one that started it. That means he collected all the Muslims together. The government came and disbanded it after he passed away. When he made this talk in South Africa at this conference, he died a few days later. And his doctor told him that if he goes to South Africa for this conference, he's not going to come back alive. And it turned out to be true. But Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui was talking to the audience, and you saw what he said. Now, this is in South Africa, and they know all about racism. But the lecture I gave before, he said, we thought we knew a whole lot, but this guy here just laid down a racial profile and a process that is superior to anything we've ever heard. That's what he was saying. Y'all heard, right? Okay. So I'm not bragging. I'm just trying to get you ready for what we want to talk about. That's why I say if you're in a hurry, you might as well head on out now. Because we're in a process. We're going into a new stage. We have weathered the storm. And we didn't weather a storm that we were shocked about. We weathered a storm that we almost invented. That we participated in the development of everything that's happened to us over the last 40-something years. We really got focused in 1986, although the Masjid opened in Oakland in 1980. But after 6 years of experience, right, we was buckled in. And we didn't come in to this in a new way. We came from a struggle. I don't think y'all have ever heard of East Oakland Enterprises. But you see me talking there. One of the people I'm talking to a lot is my son and his crew. After they saw or heard about what happened with all this blood dripping down, they came to do what people their age do. They come to, we just take care of that. And I'm saying, mind your own business. You stay out of my business. You don't know what's going on here. All they could see is blood, and all they could see is what seemed to be an assault. Well, I know how a young man would feel. Not a young man, they ain't young no more. They way up in the 50s. My children are up in their 50s, at least that crew. And the crew they had, they're in Oakland. That's like in D.C. They're very similar cities. If somebody jumped on your daddy here in D.C., you would have your crew together and it wouldn't even be no discussion, right? There's nothing to discuss. Especially the way I was looking. Actually, I looked worse than I felt. My son kept saying, Dad, we're going to get you to the hospital. I said, hospital? You probably didn't hear. I said, man, get me an aspirin or two and I'll go on. I didn't have a mirror to see what I looked like. You see what I mean? I'm just standing there talking, running my mouth. But I haven't looked in the mirror to see what they're looking at when they're looking at me. Okay, now I want to explain as we go along the history of this process. Okay, this didn't start with just here or start with the Islamic movement here. All along, I'm from Oakland, California. In Oakland, California, we had picked up on something we call East Oakland Enterprises. And we were kind of young at that time. But we felt with a strong tinge of black nationalism. We felt that black people should control their community, right? They should maintain their community. Whatever comes in, whatever goes out, they should manipulate that. They should manage that. That's the way other communities are, right? So we developed what is called East Oakland Enterprises. East Oakland Enterprises was an organization exactly like right after Dr. King was killed, the ideas of Dr. King. He was in Chicago, right, in 68. And he went there to start a black empowerment program, a second stage of civil rights. Because if you don't have no money, you can have all the rights you want, right? That was his idea. That's why he was in Chicago. And a lot of our friends, which used to be called the Black Stone Rangers and others, they said if Dr. King's first rally was 40,000 people, they said, that's what they told me in Chicago, said 30,000 of them was us. In other words, he was affecting the ones that had authority in the community. Now, I want to stray a minute don't take the Blackstone Rangers lightly. When I was in Chicago in the early 80s, when I was visiting some of the brothers, I looked up, they said, we're going to take you on a little tour. So, you know them buildings that you have to stand and look up? I was counting the floors, I said 16 floors. They just called, that's the Grand Major Mosque. It wasn't quite Islamic then. It might have had a little strobe lights in it, but they was headed toward Islam. It's all right, don't worry. It was serious. Then they'd take you over to another joint. This is our joint, as you look up there. That's 10 stories, and it's a big building. They have somebody at the door, and they have a person in charge. That's General so-and-so, right? And he's running that whole complex. So Blackstone Rangers were kind of like us. Technically, they was just like us, except they would kind of move on people from time to time. You might not have heard what I was saying here. I said this is the only crew that they had in Oakland that didn't kill nobody. When we was so-called big shots, now I know y'all have seen this 1,000 times. This suit is so expensive that you could buy a house right now with what this suit costs. Of course, you know the Negro overpaid, but who cares? You got plenty of money. Now, I told y'all, what is this? This is a disguise. Why? Because this look, you do an analysis. This is 68. Black jacket, free Huey, new button, stingy brim hat. You know, all of that, that's the look that would get you killed. That's the Black Panther look. In 68, 69, 70, you just a goner. This is the disguise. This is a year later. All this stuff is just what Negroes love. Boy, this is a bad ride here. You can't see the 11-channel telephone. See, now you got a telephone in your pocket. Then you had to go home and use the phone. Not to mention sitting on mink and everything. That's exactly what the white man wanted niggers to do. Right? And that's what we did. This is disguise. Everybody would like that disguise. You know what I mean? Who wants to do this, right? But the more we was into this, the deeper we was into our struggle. So you might ask, well, what did you do after this? Well, we went to Algeria. All the brothers and sisters in Algeria, they was over there broke. When I got there, they wasn't broke no more. Right? I'm just trying to tell you. And, well, at least two of the brothers are still alive. Sekou Odinga and Pete O'Neill. So Pete, he took over the party after Eldridge Cleaver. Uncle Eldridge. I don't want to talk about Eldridge Cleaver. And I won't. Brother Musa enjoyed the tapes very much. Please send more by my mother. Your homeboy from the days of struggle, Pete O'Neill. Now, Pete's still in Africa. Pete started the African American, up in Arusha, he started the African American Institute, or the Malcolm X Institute, right? And he's one of the only ones that didn't come back here. The others that didn't come back died over there. The ones that did come back here usually wound up in prison, like Sekou Odinga and myself and others. But I want to get the idea in your mind. We made a historical decision each time we done made a move. Now, in the early days, we just thinking and doing. But later on, you becoming very strategic because boss man ain't playing with you no more, right? So you become very detailed and very strategic, and we call it very protracted, a long-range struggle. African Americans here didn't just fall into slavery and gonna fall out of it. Whatever we're going through, it's gonna take us a while to get out of it, right? Therefore, you have to have a protracted, that protracted means long range, a long range struggle. So although when we went to Africa, we enjoyed ourselves, because coming from East Oakland, you go to a lot of parts of Africa, you get a chance to learn about colonialism and how it affected the people, right? And all that was really a learning spirit. That's why the Quran says, travel in the earth and see what was the end of those before you. Travel in the earth that you gain knowledge. I'm telling you, traveling is big. And in those days, it was probably about 3 or 4 Negroes that had a passport. Well, I mean, it was more, but I mean, the percentage of black people in America, if it was 20 million of us, 50 or a couple hundred had passports. So we had, All right, now, this person had an effect. So Pete O'Neill is saying, send some of the tapes to his mother. That means that we got to be kind of close. He's from Kansas City. So we got to be, ain't nobody going to send some stuff to my mama. They'll send it to me. So one of the things that those brothers said, see, when we went to Algeria, I saw what the brothers was doing, and they was drifting away from revolution, and I was moving fast too. I was tired of the white man. The white man had set me up 3 or 4 times. White man sending me to jail every day. Y'all haven't seen the profile of how many times I went to jail. I was going to jail every other day. In 1970, on April Fool's Day, I went to jail 3 times. They trying to show you this is what we think about you, nigga. So no problem, Mr. Cracker. Don't worry, boss man. So in those days, what was they mad about? All the other people, Negroes in our area and in the United States that was moving through the black nationalist influenced gangster side of things, they was providing for themselves and their little crew. But as you saw on the video, when I'm talking to my son, and he grew up he was a young kid during that time, and I'm telling him, don't you remember how rich everybody was then? Yeah. Don't you remember how we were influencing the whole area? Yeah. So what happened was, when boss man realized that I had made a fool out of him, he said, we getting rid of that nigga tomorrow. Right? And they got busy. I mean, this worked like a charm. Oh, man, it worked like a charm. Just riding down the street, everybody knew the car, and it used to make the police mad. I don't know how many outfits I had like this, but this was sharp. Long as you're doing that, the police, you know what I mean? The big police ain't gonna bother you. And even the little vice squad types, since there was no killing during our time, since there was in East Oakland, everything ran smoothly. So the police could just drink coffee and eat donuts. They didn't have to go out and solve no murders, because during our time, we didn't kill nobody, nor did we allow nobody, because we had a council. If some crew acting a fool, hey man, leave them alone and come to us. then we'll get both of y'all together, or we'll deal with what they owe you some money, or what they do. Later on, niggas was burning each other up alive. When I said, man, these guys, things done went crazy. And the people that came after us, they were known as killers. I said, man, they was like D.C. Oakland, D.C., I feel very comfortable here. I come from Oakland. Why? Because Oakland is like D.C., right? Feel very comfortable here. Well, I used to. Now it's mixing up a little bit. I'm not uncomfortable around Euros, but I mean, we moved out to the Southeast in 1990, and a kid would grow up all day. He would never see anybody white, right? They were in the Southeast. It's nice and mixed now. I like that. It brings property values up, stuff like that. The point I'm making is this. What do our movement stands for? Our movement stands for the progress of humanity. But the progress of humanity includes us. And if we don't manage our own business, we're not going to be included. Nobody's going to voluntarily include. Oh, the niggas need some inclusion. Usually they're going to have exclusion, right? So that means it's just a handful of people here, but I tell you, nobody will ever say that we succumb to none of this dumb stuff. We didn't try to do our duty. We didn't stand up for ourselves, and that we didn't have some plan of activity. That plan is working just like it has worked. For the last 35 years, it's been working like a charm. And that's what I want to explain. I want to explain to you that all the stuff that appeared to happen that looked like it was bad, it was not bad. It was good. It was good because there had to be an exposition of reality. Someone had to show in live and blazing color what could be done in America. What could be done in D.C., right? Okay. So in a little while, when we start patching up and expanding again in D.C., okay, out of the Masjid in this area, this is the only one that owns everything. It owns all the property. It owns we got 8 pieces of property right around here. It belongs to us. And it belongs to us. We never bought anything with Reba. We paid for it all cash, right? We paid for it all cash. And we paid for it at a time when we have arranged. And my brothers in South, them niggas got to go to school for 4 years. Give them a little bit today, but they got to have a 4-year course of business management, discipline, and all of that before they get the big pot. Why? Because Mercedes people, they have a new showroom out here, and all the bright, fancy stuff that niggas use, they'd buy it all, right? How long would it take them to be broke? Well, let's see. Shoot, it could take a month for these millions of African Americans to be broke. It could take 2 years. Shoot, they may hold out 4 or 5 years before they go flat broke. And I'm only talking about 90%. Some gonna hold on to their stuff, right? It looks like they might pass on some of this for our bad boss man treated us back in the day. They might have some reparation. It's getting more popular. They'll water it down. They ain't going to give you a whole lot. So they're going to have to keep us out of it. because the Negro gonna be mad. Man, that nigga over there talking about we can't get our money for 5 years till we take a course in money management, till we think about it a little bit, right? Why? You ever seen anybody win the lottery? Let's say $5 million. Nigga won $5 million. Bam! And it takes him 3 months to go broke. All he got is $5 million. Because see, once you start spending money, you don't realize how fast it could go. That's why all the people that get big in the Negro neighborhood, all these pretty cars, why they all wind up broke? Why none of the players put away money or save money? Why none of the gangster organizations, when they come, I don't care how many millions they make, right? When the government come and squash them, when they come out of prison, well, they don't come out as much as they used to. If they come out of prison, they got a begging bowl because they don't have no money left. If they did have, their dear mama and brothers, whoever they hit it with, they say, it's too bad. Right? Tell the truth. It's too bad. They love you, but the money is gone. Mama, you ain't got none of the money. No, honey, I needed this and that. We needed a new sofa. You could buy 1,000 sofas. Well, I had to pay the people, and you broke. You spent all that time in the penitentiary, right? I'm just trying to tell you the reality of which we've been living in. We didn't want to accept that reality. So we had to come up with a strategy. The plan in the Quran says, don't turn your back on the enemy, right? Unless it is a strategic maneuver to get you back to a bigger crowd or a bigger crew, right? So don't run away. Don't have no strategic moves or no blunders or nothing else unless it is a strategy. This is one of our good articles right here. Strategic management under conditions of repression. This is about 30, 40 pages, something like that. But we'll start writing this stuff again. We haven't written these articles in about 10 years, but now's the time to start. Okay, let me try to get focused again. Do not change your position unless it is a strategy, a strategic maneuver. You don't have to worry about boss man. When you get into strategy, he's not going to believe it. You got 10 years of free run. He's not going to believe the nigga got any sense. Especially equal to him. When he look up, you all over him already. That's why I said on the video, telling them youngsters, they're younger, and I said, you mind your own business. You don't know what's going on here. And then I started relating to my son. You remember when this happened? You remember when that happened? He knows all that stuff. Yeah. Right. Well, then you mind your own business. Because these people were instructed to do that. They were instructed to start something with other black people. So then black people could do what? What they always do, kill each other, right? Fight each other, destroy each other's focus, right? That's what we do as a people, right? One crew, this crew against that crew. And it works. We say, you ain't doing that to us. That's nickel and dime game. That's nickel and dime game. You will not be successful with us, and you never was. That's why when we was running East Oakland Enterprises in Oakland, everybody that wanted money got money. I had friends who was fighters. If you want to, why just fight and don't get nothing? Why don't you manage some fights? So you get your Oakland Auditorium down there, and you get your crew of fighters, and y'all, you know, whatever it was. Oh, you're in real estate? Man, shoot. Cheapest stuff is now, you can load up. And white folks is moving out of East Oakland, and black people are moving in, so prices are low right now. You want to get into real estate? I'm telling you, that's what we did. We helped everybody. That's what it was, East Oakland Enterprise. It was a black economic enterprise zone. The same thing Dr. King wanted to do in Chicago. He was not successful. We were successful in Oakland. After a couple of years, because they used to call me the mayor of East Oakland. Well, the mayor of East Oakland. Now, everything is funny about this story. East Oakland goes from 1st Avenue all the way out to 105th. And technically, West Oakland and North Oakland combined go out to 63rd on the other side of town. It's small. So all the gangsters and everybody was in West Oakland and North Oakland. And they looked at us in East Oakland as like we were the squares out there. We had jobs and all that old dumb stuff. Yeah, the kids went to school on time, all that stuff. So we was considered as squares, at least they was, not me. So everything worked perfect. The mentality of the people, the environmental circumstances. It might not have worked in North Oakland. It might not have worked in West Oakland, where we originally started from. But it worked in East Oakland. And worked like a charm. The minute boss man realized that, oh, this ain't no joke. That nigga is playing us. He's riding around in all them big pretty cars, just playing like he partying, and he's building, building, and building, and building. He said, we got to get rid of the nigga. So after they did a few things, not a few, about 400 or 500, I began to think, after they set me up in LA coming from out of the country, I said, well, I think boss man is mad. So I just left the country. That was a great, it was a perfect move. It was a perfect move. At that time, of course, we went to Africa first. Algeria, Arab Africa, you know, North Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, all of that, Black Africa. So we got kind of tired of North Africa, and we started shifting to Black Africa. So in the shift, we had an idea of rebuilding the party. So I went to a meeting in the main office in Babelwed is what they call it, the district. So we was having the meeting, and I told them, I said, you guys, revolution, you can't go down to the Rue du Mourad, that's French mixed with that, Rue du Mourad. You can't go down there every day buying hashish and getting high, and you're going to have a revolution. See, when I get there, I'm ready for a full-fledged revolution now. I done already stripped off all the party and everything. I'm ready to go. They're not ready to go. So what I said was, we left a little something for them. But we told them, you want to get big, you want to have a real revolution, I said, what you do is you get you a lot of money. And the way to get money right now is you start a little cartel here and there. Oh, we can't do that. It's against our principles. I tried to tell them, it's against your principles. Everybody in the office is down there getting high. What you mean? What principle is that? I didn't say that. But Elders was there, Connie and them was there, all the people you read about. So I said, well, I'll go do it myself. So when I left there, I went down to East Africa for a while, then up to Copenhagen and all that for a while. Then I went to South America. You know why? Because cocaine comes from South America, right? So all the cocaine we had in those days came from Peru, so we thought. So we went to Peru first. I said, man, I want to get back in business and I want to get a deal. He said, if you want a deal better than we can give you, you got to go to Bolivia. Bolivia is next door. In those days, that was the cheapest place you could get cocaine. You could get a kilo of cocaine in those days for $2,000 in Bolivia. Pure cocaine, not stuff they got up here. So I went to Bolivia, bought a kilo of cocaine, and anyway. But while I was in Bolivia, a white boy, which was definitely the government, he was saying, I got friends up in Colombia. See, when you start getting it, you think the government just controlled dope here, this block, they control it all over the world. Why you think every American ally is the biggest drug dealer in the world, right? Remember Vietnam, Southeast Asia? That's where, what's the name? Remember what's the movie, the Negro went over there and bought up all the heroin? American Gangster. Frank Lucas, it was true. I don't want to talk about the money they made. Don't worry about the money they kept. It wasn't much. But I did the same thing, except I went to South America and he went to Asia. Why? Because heroin was killing everybody and I'm kind of conscious, so I didn't want to kill nobody. So we went to cocaine. All the rich people, all the Aretha Franklins, everybody snorted cocaine. Everybody in the White House, at least in those days, they snorted cocaine. That means they didn't use no heroin. So all the rich people, then and now, what do they use? Cocaine. So we went down there because we wanted a clientele where we didn't bump off the Negro. Like I told y'all, if you got to leave, you can do your salat and go on, because I don't have no time limit right now. There's none. I ain't even thinking about slowing down. So anyway, we gets involved, and the white boy tell me down in La Paz, Bolivia, he said, go up to Colombia. I got friends up there. I didn't know that Colombia, when I was down there, Colombia became what it is now. In those days, it wasn't Colombia. But if you look at Colombia strategically, right, it's perfect for cocaine. They got the Atlantic coast over here. They got the Caribbean over here, right? It's got two coastlines. It's perfect for smuggling. Peru, one coastline. Bolivia, landlocked, no coastline. So the government just did their thinking. We got to hook this up. And I'm telling you, you look in the 70s, cocaine exploded in the U.S. and all over the world. Okay. So we followed the trends of the times and might even been kind of like pioneers in it. That experience did us a lot of good. That experience taught us many very good lessons. Number one, the killer is money and women, right? And if you dress like this and drive these kind of cars, you're not going to have trouble with women. You see what I mean? So it cures, you got a cure already. Of course, later on when you become a Muslim, a true Muslim, not, those folks, it teaches you, and then about money, wealth, power, notoriety, position, these things run other people crazy when they have them or when they don't have them. When you acquire wealth and position, it is is not having it. It's even more deadly because more people is killed by too much money than they are by not having enough. It is just so. Therefore, it's like Allah knows where you're going and He hooks you up. He trains you for your mission. Other people cannot stand to be isolated or cut off or by themselves. Well, if you go through the white man's prison when you're just a little kid and get on up pretty soon, you don't cooperate with the system. Guess where you go? To the hole. Over and over and over again. What's happening in the hole? Nothing. You're there by yourself. Isn't that right? So you learn, you don't know what lesson you're learning, right? It's not a guidebook to revolution, but you're learning how to be by yourself. And when you get big money like this, people be slashing your throat, sticking you in the back and everything. And you learn how to be resilient. That you don't blame them for being stupid. You don't blame the Negro. Like right now, the Negro is not clear on what he should be doing. But we don't blame him. We don't say, you dumb niggas, you know what I mean? I hate you niggas. That's what most people do. You look at our leaders. I'm not going to mention their names, but a lot of them. In the process, the Negro treat them so bad that they said, man, right? I mean, we've seen it before. All right. That never happened to us. It don't happen right now. We have 1 billion snitches around here, and almost all of them are colored. Don't make me no difference, because here's what we're going to do. In time, we're going to convert those tattletales and stool pigeons and snitches into Islamic workers. Yeah, you just stick around. That's what we're going to do. Why? Because of our policy, love, compassion, friendship, being able to, being lighthearted enough, right? To be able to allow people to be who they are. So you have a little lightness in your character, right? So you have, your plan includes how you're going to treat the people. Because you know the people are who they are. The other thing I want to drift to just before finishing this stuff, or getting started on this stuff, is the world we're living in today. See, all of this stuff, most of y'all has been here and heard this over and over again. That's called redundancy. Redundancy. Going over things over and over and over and over again until you can wake up in the middle of the night, somebody shake you and you start running it off because you have heard it over and over and over and over again. And direction means that you learn focus. You're not going to try to do everything. If you got homelessness here, if you got As-Sabiqun here, if you got waking up the campus university environment, right? Here, you have only 3 or 4 things you focus on. Why? Because you can't do everything, right? So get started on what you can. Because if you do use your shotgun effect, you're not going to get too far. So what happens is this process begins to teach you and to educate you on what you ought to be doing. What did we figure out? Let me show you something. I know I showed y'all this week and it didn't come out too well. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. We have in America now the total takeover by the Zionists of American institutions. And dear Donald Trump pushed it from 80% takeover to 95%. Remember a few years ago we say, Don, say about 2015, we said, man, Don going to buckle the Republican Party. Then the next year we said, no, Don going to knock over America. Don have, isn't he? Hasn't he? I'm telling you. All this prestige for America is gone. All the stability of America, gone. Who did it? The Israelis. See, not the dumb white man. He got his limitations. America is operating totally on the principle of the Zionist activists, right? Who have gotten control of the policy. I'm telling you, the break the neck policy, when George Floyd was brutalized and on the ground for all that time, that's the way the Israelis do it. No mercy, no nothing, nothing. And he was a pervert. Remember I told you he had his hand in his pants all the time? Pocket pool. You've been in the penitentiary a while, you know when somebody playing pocket pool. Tell the truth. He playing. Look at it again if you think I'm lying. I know I told y'all this the minute it was happening. Not that I've been in the penitentiary and I know what people be doing. But that boy hasn't moved. And he ain't going to move till he get off. You look at him. You watch him. He ain't moved. Whatever he's gripping, he's got it hard. And what he's doing is a perverted mind. Just making his pleasure even better. Because that's the way those crackpots are. They're perverted people and the Zionists studied them. And they picked him. The Zionists picked him to do it. But we lost one. We lost many more. But it showed us something. The Zionists are in, might as well call it 100% control. That's why we say our biggest, this was a sign outside the Masjid, outside one of our properties in California. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. They used to drive by, a lot of Arabs and they look at that sign. Everybody, white folks, Arabs, Pakistanis that kind of knew what it meant. Everybody would look at that sign and slow down. Some of them would park. Some of them would go down and turn around and park in front of the building. I used to watch them because you could be inside the building and you could watch them out there. And they're trying to figure the Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. One thing you don't have to worry about, boss man. He don't believe the Negro have enough brain power. He don't believe the Negro got enough brain power to hold on no long time. Right? What is the language we always used? the language of protracted struggle, long-range struggle. And for us, long range is not like the long war, the long march in China, right? A few years, and then from 1930s to 1949, ours is longer. And that means you have to be disciplined and self-controlled. And nobody wanted to go. All the big-time imams, we kind of hint what we want. The Negro didn't want to go, don't want to go, and not going. I don't want to, hey man, I ain't into that. You know, first of all right, now we're going to speed up. We're going to read a few things, and I'm going to fool you and let you go because I don't want to, we'll talk about it another time. I want to talk to you about a few little light traps. This is from a court document from our, believe it or not, in Oakland. I was arrested 8 times there, at our Masjid. Yeah, at our Masjid. We had the paperwork for it and everything, still do. And, let me read it. Because the government get tired of you after a while. And here's what the Zionists do. The Zionists, you could tell when the Zionists involved because they go extraordinarily outside of anything that they're normal with. If it was America only, they just brutalize you and kill you. But the Zionists say they're using the overseas policy, mixtures of it. Therefore, those Palestinians that own property and they got a deed from Ottoman time, they say it don't mean nothing, right? It don't mean nothing, and they move on and they can't take that property. When they use those type of tactics on us, that means the Zionists have more influence because the first sign that was torn down in Oakland was not Masjid al-Islam. It was the building down the street that we own, the Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. So then we are sure now who we got. We done had a few programs at UC Berkeley, at UCLA, and we see the Zionists don't like us. They after us. And we also find out something else. Zionists can't touch us. They don't have, there's something they don't have for the Negro. They don't have it. And especially one that's not going to let them use what they have. That's why we attacked them first. Remember? Here. All right? What does that do that make the Zionists mad? You always want to fight somebody that's mad. It's not thinking clear, right? We'll get rid of that nigga. So we'll just bum rush him. We'll tell, what do they have? They have property, they have prestige. We'll make sure nobody invites this nigga nowhere. And pretty soon, all your invites from all the universities and all the kind of quiet down. Technically, you at home reading and writing. That's fine. The other thing is, let me get here for a second. Let me show you why we know it's the Zionists. The defendant, of course. You'll be quiet. Of course, I'm in court. The defendant, si, senor. The court, I'm going to call the jury back in if you speak out of turn. Defendant, okay. Court, or show them anything again. I didn't show them all the pictures I have. Okay. Like the pictures you just showed them. The defendant, right. The court, and speak out of turn. I will have one of these 4 deputies have you shown out now or something. The defendant, which is me, they already tried to assassinate me and remove me to the court, remove you from the courtroom. In 1975, this is a misprint, that was 1970. That's why on that video I was talking to my son. You remember when they tried to move on me in 1970? They did, and it didn't work. That's why I said I think the white man don't like me anymore, and maybe I'll just take a visit somewhere else. And that's what I did. So you outlast, you outlive. When you come back with a plan. Let's say the defendant already tried, the defendant, I survived 3 attacks by the Oakland police. And then I'm talking crazy. My name is Big Hank. That's what they used to call me. That's Big Hank there. Well, I was big then. Now I shoot 6'2", as a little guy. Abdul Alim and Clarence Reams, those that I'm known by. Everybody knows it. I'm telling the court. That's what I'm telling the court there. This is just a few years ago. I beat the case. The jury was out. It had to be 25 or 30 minutes. Might have been 15 minutes. We call it the fastest jury in the West. They said, nigga's not guilty. Okay. I call this the comedy of cross-examination. This is the ones that do all, they the front man for boss man out there. Are you the owner of this establishment? Yes, I am. Everything you told me is true? Yes, it is. I wouldn't lie to the police. I wouldn't lie to the jury. I'm the owner of this establishment. Then it goes on right down there to say, he lied to you, lied to us all. He's not the owner. When the district attorney asked him, why did you say that? I don't know. I really don't know why I said that. I just lied. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, you shouldn't lie. And definitely not to the police. So he goes on, I am the owner. He's trespassing, and it worked. This is what my lawyer is saying that he told the police. I'm the owner of this property. I got the deeds and everything. But the police is like the Israelis. And if you see all the pictures I show you, there's no black person in none of these arrests. Why? Because all the black police in Oakland kind of respected us. Half of them went to the Allen Temple, my mother's and sister's church and everything. So they would have, anyway, it's a long story. They'd keep us up on a lot of stuff. Even the last time I was in Oakland at a big demonstration, the police came up to me from the old days. He didn't just come up, shake my hand, that he's throwing a little something on the ground like it. Say, hey man, we proud of you, you know. That's what they're saying, because they know they was in the game. Well, they was police in the game. But they was in the game. And they know amongst themselves that this was a real transformation. And they call it a big transformation because people on that level, hardly ever, they may get saved. Like all my friends, they got saved and became preachers and stuff. But as they said, man, you're going to become a Muslim? Good God Almighty, you ought to get saved. I said, well, you know, the only thing about this Islam is I believe it, you know. So I'm the owner. He's trespassing, and it worked. Just hold on a minute. I think I'm going to cut down, save some of it for later. Inconsistent. Did the witness make a statement in the past that is inconsistent or consistent with his or her testimony? The district attorney is asking you to rely on his words alone to convict him and some documents he made. You ought to see the documents they made. They look like Negro documents. You know, they look like colored documents. But the police wanted them to be all right, so they accepted them. Nobody else would accept them. The court here don't accept. That's what you had? Nigga, you must be crazy. At all other, there is no evidence at all other than his word that he is CEO. That's it. Just a statement of information he filed. Just like the one, but it's not legal proof. I'm going to go on and speed up a minute. This is an affidavit they signed to get something to be prohibited as evidence. And here's it says, the jury may hold against the people, Masjid al-Islam, or Mr. Mujahid, the fact that the defendant was removed at gunpoint, or that he was accused of having weapons but had none. So Mukhtar, I'm just going to read you one more, 2 or 3 more and call it a day. The content, the obvious truth, Mukhtar told the police that I had a gun. And he said that I came from, let's see what this is. Are you the owner? Yes, I am. Everything you told me is true. Yes, it is. I wouldn't lie to the people. I wouldn't lie to the jury. I'm the owner of the establishment. He lied to you, lied to all of us. He's not the owner. And when the district attorney asked him, why did you say that? I don't know. You should have saw the nigga sitting in the court. Why you say that? I don't know. It was, I don't really know why he said that. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, you shouldn't lie, and definitely not to the police. I'm the owner. He's trespassing. That's what he said to me. And that's why I went to jail so many times. I'm not going to show you all the paperwork, but what they wanted to do was wear the brother down. They didn't wear me down. I've worn them down. And I'm going to move toward a close by saying I have been working on this particular case for over a decade. And this particular case is to draw him in deep, to draw the government in deep, right? To trap the government. They always entrapping other people, but you never think you can entrap them. Why did we put up with all of this stuff, beatings and stealing of property and changing the names on all kind of things? Is because the government was trying to get us off of our job. The government was trying to make us mad. The government was trying to make us change our focus onto other Negroes. Once they do that, your movement is dead. So it's just like us and the Black Panthers, right? It's just like other groups when they turn on each other, either inside the city or outside. When you get niggas fighting niggas, you can go home, turn on the TV or do what you want. We have never and will never submit to second grade game, third grade game. We're going to brag a little. What we have done in the last 40-something years, and add 10 of the experience years, we've drawn boss man out of his box, out of his comfort zone. He's fighting in our territory. He's fighting in our territory, right? So strategic management under conditions of repression, right? That's our territory. It's strategic management, long-range planning, thinking, and action, right? That's what it is under our conditions. What would fit into what we're trying to do? That's what we've been doing. Ain't nobody been playing here, right? When we go back to California, we're going back with a whole program. We got stacks of stuff. We just organize it, and We'll sue them for $200 million, something like that. Because we got a lot of work to do. They've wasted a lot of our time. Not wasted. See, it's not wasted if you survive. If you survive in a challenge with a system that has everything in its favor, it has the people, it has the influence, it has the collected or collective intellect of the society, it has the patterns of people's behavior, and it has the ability to get things done, right? It has the ability to come up with something and then to get it going and keep it going, right? That's who you're dealing with. We're here to tell you that ain't nobody in our community ever even got close to Boss Man. When we tell you that we got Boss Man on the line, I'm just going to do a little chit-chat and call it a day. When we tell you that we got Boss Man on the line, that means it's like going fishing, and you put it out, and you put it out, you get a little bite. And when you get that fish on the line, you got him. You already know. You can do what you want now. Because he can't go nowhere, but you got him on the line. That's what we had to do. Boss Man on the line, Mukhtar on the line, Khadijah on the line, Negroes on the line all over America. All the snitches, stooges, and collaborators, and everybody that's been coming here knows that it's all global. Global. It is not, that's the thing. They never liked it, and they definitely don't like it now. That the Negro is global. I'm going to show you a few pictures and go on about my business. Call it a day. Okay. This is the president that they love to hate, the little guy in Iran, Ahmadinejad. They hate him to death. Okay. This, creating the new civilization of Islam, this was when we were moving out of what we were in, looking to create new civilizations of Islam. This is 96. If you study the time, this is when they hit us bad. They hit the movement bad at that time. This is the new president. Thank the Lord, he'll be going soon. I shouldn't say that. But you got Toms and everything now. And when your team is out, you got to be patient. And when you got the other team that's in, working to isolate you and cut you off and working with Boss Man and cutting off any extra arm that you might have had. This is a terrible picture here. This is our Masjid. I was in there taking a bath, and they come snatch the poor guy out. You'll notice Mexicans, because they don't know the history, the black history of Oakland. They wouldn't have no black police in there, because the black police would know either me, my family, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And there's Mukhtar, the biggest snitch in world history. I don't say nothing about him because he'd tell the white man. What did he tell him? He said, what did he say? He gonna 187 me. I didn't say that, did I tell the truth? I said the government said. The Negroes are so stupid. Look at Afghanistan right now. Just look at it. The government Muslims, right, that the U.S. was backing, technically working with the Taliban, right? That's why they wouldn't bring the government, right, together with those Afghan nationals that wanted peace and tranquility. They wouldn't do it. Why? Because the United States was sticking them in the back. See what I mean? All right. They've already stuck them in the back. Everywhere they go, they're leaving Afghans weapons behind for who? Taliban. This right here, this is from this is the leading political newspaper in Iran. And it said, Walayati Faqih is a protection against global fitna. The whole lecture is laid out because they thought this guy is giving out good focus. Because nobody would think that nobody pays attention to the Negro. Well, why do they put the nigger on the front page with an outline of their lecture they gave in English, and the people liked it, they translated it to Farsi and put it in their main newspaper? Why? Because it's somebody observing them and saying, from our position, this is what you can do. And then, you know what they do? They check the record and they found out that the Negro has been righter about them than they have about themselves. It's rare, but it's true. Who else knows that? Boss man knows it. Me and old boss man. And I'm going to kind of leave, but forget about all the deeds and stuff. We're not going to talk about that. And for today, I might just go over one or two little historical facts and I'll let y'all go. Armed intruders attack Masjid al-Islam, front page stuff. Imam Abdul Alim Musa received death threats. The Negroes can death threat you to death. Abdul Alim Musa facing death threats, another one. Imam Musa assaulted in Oakland, California. Sabotage, death threats against Imam Musa, and now grand larceny of Masjid al-Islam accounts. We've been isolated, but we had a little money. They took $100,000 and gave it to them. They took one of our biggest properties and gave it to them. Don't worry, we'll get it back. That is no problem. Don't panic. Do not panic. In closing, everything is exactly like we want it. Know your enemy. Know yourself. 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. See, we've studied Boss Man ever since we've been here. And we've studied ourselves too. And the white man knocks over our people like bowling pins. He kills them. He burns them alive. He wastes them in the penitentiary, like where most of my friends are. Either dead or in jail. So that means we have to have a special significance in this. Because we ain't playing for ourselves. Just by playing the game, we get our enjoyment out of that. We don't have to have nothing else. You don't have to have no house, no car. You don't have to have all of that. You get your enjoyment from playing the game. We want to teach that to other people, but you have to first teach the people not to fear boss man. We have to teach people to see the signs of decay, what decay looks like, what it smells like, right? You got to teach the people when you see Capitol Police up there and they're crying tears, right? You got to see the signs, same signs we saw on the 6th when people was walking around in January, and you could see under their coat, all of them was packing. All them white folks went to the Capitol. When I'm telling you, they was packing. My daughter said, Dad, God took her to the hospital. So we drove past all that. Hey, let's go down there. When I said, oh no, we're going back around this way, coming back through Virginia. zip across the 14th Street Bridge and we're coming back over here. We're not going down there near the Capitol. We ain't going close to it, right? And what? Think of it like this. You see the police on there crying, and then you see them double-crossed by who? The same people they was trying to protect, right? What is that doing? That's discrediting the whole system. You dummies, we tried to protect you. We did protect you. And now you dumb Republicans, right, are doing what? You done turned on us and said it was a joke and saying we made it all up, although the camera kind of remembers some of it, right? That's what's happening today. This is the thing we have to learn. We have to learn, what are we looking at? What are we perceiving? We are perceiving the massive decline of American prestige amongst Americans and outside in the world. Amongst Americans, if you attack the Capitol, right? If you attack the vote, those are sacred cows in America. Tell the truth. The Capitol and the vote, right? The sacred vote. Well, I mean, it ain't that sacred. It's just kind of messed up. But to them, it's a big deal. America, the Zionists got control over Don, and Don finished off America. He's already finished it off. This is a blow. They can't come back from it. You know, if you do a lot of fighting and a guy get hit, bam, you say he can't come back from that. And most of the time, if you know what you're talking about, you don't. This is a head blow, it's a body blow, it's a historical blow. It's a blow to everything that they were calling America, right? And who were they moving against? You got one Latino, one Negro, and two white boys. The white boys probably going to put some Negro in the penitentiary because they was on the narcotics squad. They said, we deployed, self-deployed. That's what the white police said. But they said they were beating me and the white police, white folks say, when they get heat, I have kids. You try that on a cracker, see if you got kids, well, I won't hurt you. You're going to bop, 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 add a couple of shots to make sure you're gone. So he want to kill you and the kid. He don't want to. But the white man, they do two things. Same thing George Floyd did, but it used to be white boys used to do it. You get a white boy in a riot or something, he would say, Mama, they're going to kill me. 64, I tell leave the cracker alone. Because he was really, but he was helpless. The niggas had him in a riot, and no more white boys around. And the first thing he go back to is the last or the first feeling of safety he could remember. And it was unconscious. It was in his mother's arms. And he said, Mama, they're trying to kill me, or they're going to kill me. George Floyd, Negroes used to didn't do that. Call for their mama. They used to call on Jesus and stuff like that. But in the old days, the old time Negroes, he wouldn't call on his mama. I don't know, but now new ones do. They call on their mama. The other nigga, you said, Lord save me, or something like that. But he would never call on his mother. This was in the old days, during my generation. I don't know what people do now. Evidently, they done changed up a little bit. This is our time. We're inviting you to participate with us. We done already took all the tussles and everything. Boss man is finished on this, and he's finished in the world. Finished. He ain't getting he can't come back. He wounded too bad. He whooped too bad. And he cut his own throat. Anybody that could help, he got rid of him. Look what he did on TV. Just think about it. All the Latinos This guy was from Dominican Republic, I guess. But they could hear the voice. And they could hear he was so hurt. Why was he hurt? He was hurt because he was an Iraqi veteran, went over there, put his life on the line. He was up there trying to save them, and they broke his heart. They broke his heart. That man was brokenhearted. Now, the Negro wasn't brokenhearted. He had a little more sense. He knew what he was kind of, but he was hurt too. I've never been called a nigger in this uniform until they did that, right? And the two white boys, now I want you to remember all the police looking, it's not me and you. The police is looking at, while those fat cats up there turned on those guys and they were saving their lives, right? Tell the truth. It's a body blow. It's a mortal wound. The system is killing itself. You don't have to do nothing. The system is killing itself in the public, right? It's doing it. Now, other people didn't know this, but we said it the day Don got to talking, and we've been saying it before. We knew it was coming, but we didn't know exactly the times, the dates. But now we have the trajectory. The trajectory. It's down and out for Sam. In the meantime, we'll talk about in the future about us doing something about it. Now, remember, I know this sounds kind of funny after all this gangster talk, but we're living here in America. And Americans are not that bright. They're just not that bright. Ain't nothing you can do about it. But they are not at fault about a lot of this stuff because they're just sitting there watching TV. And it's a Zionist television that's telling them what to think and how to feel and everything, right? And then it's your relatives and friends. You know they're not bright either. I mean, good God Almighty. At least mine aren't. I mean, maybe yours is very bright. So don't have me saying I said something about your relatives. No, I know yours are very bright. Mine are not that bright. They don't pick up on nothing. They don't get it. They get what boss man tell them. Boss man tell them, your uncle, if you cooperate with us, we'll save his life. Or your daddy, you do right by us, and we'll keep your daddy alive. That's what they'll tell your family. And guess who they'll believe? You think they'll believe you? Hell no. They believe boss man. Boss man has a worse record. I mean, anyway, but that's the way we're conditioned. So, dear believers, in closing, the time is running out. We don't know how much more time this can go. You know, this fire season again, this drought season again. What are we witnessing? Each year is getting worse, worse, worse. How do we know how long this thing is going to go? They done already sucked all the water out of the ground. The water table is finished. Here, Iran, everywhere. Finished, right? So those things that need to be done in relation to humanity, the climate, animal life. Remember the hadith, the fowl of the air, fish of the sea will pray for the man of knowledge, will make dua for the man of knowledge. Because at that time the hadith didn't make sense, but it makes sense now. The fish are down there saying, oh Allah, whoever that is messing up our place, would you get rid of them or have somebody take care of it? Because the water is polluted. The birds, some of the fires were so hot, the birds was flying and would fall out of the sky. I'm telling you this right now. They do that. What do you think their prayer is? Good God Almighty, the same. And I'll close with this. The temperatures around the world, you don't have to pay no attention. It was still 121 degrees up in Canada the other day, last week. Tell the truth. 121. You know where Canada is? It's way up there. It was almost 100 degrees in Siberia. You know where the Russians would send you when you was bad? Siberia. Because it's cold and distant. Do you know what it was in the Arctic Circle last year? 68 degrees. In Greenland, up there where all that stuff is melting, how much longer do we have messing around with this cracker? How much time? You'll just sit here and say, yeah, go on, boss man, you got it covered. Hey, this is what it feels like to live at the end of those timely cycles. Not the end of time, but you know when the prophets was on the earth and they would say, do this, believe, or you doom and gloom is coming, right? And guess what? They didn't believe, doom and gloom came. All the time, except one time, Nineveh, only one escaped for a time. Same thing here in America. We got to get it together. Now, and I'm going to really close this time. It's only the 7th day close, so this is the final one. We have an opportunity and a responsibility for the earth, for humanity, and for the systems that are still barely operating on earth. We got a chance. You want to be somebody? Let's go on and do it. You want to just believe boss man? I know what he done told you. You stick with me and I'll set you free. Yes. And you believe that dummy. I'm talking about people that are here right now. They believe that butthole. He telling you, and look at what he doing already. Huh? What is that? I'm telling you. And I'm going to close with this. People that want to do good, you have to have big time patience. And who would first? Not with yourself, with the other people. Because you'll be telling them year in and year out, and they'll look at you like you crazy. And when the water come bubbling up to their throat, they'll still be looking for a way out, like Noah's son. I'll just get me to a high mountain. So have patience and love. Thank you very much. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is beside thee. Ameen. Ikamatis.